everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Mike Delisio.
Today we're taking a look at a pair of Bitewing games that we're talking about together because they were released together, almost like a set. They were made to look similar. Gingham and Gazebo. Gingham is a really hard word to say.
I don't know that I've ever disagreed with you more. I don't know. It's fine. It's an okay word.
No, I always might. Is it because it's? I see gingerbread.
Gingham.
It's not Gingham. I don't know. The whole thing is confusing to me.
I've only ever heard the word gingham in reference to a gingham dress from like 1940. Yeah. It's not a word that's used very often. So yeah, it's interesting.
And gazebo is something you attack in Dungeons and Dragons, or at least if you've read the
apocryphal story.
Oh, I love that story. Go look it up sometime, Mike. It's amazing.
Whether it's true or not, I believe.
Yes.
I believe.
Anyway, these are two abstract strategy games. One is about ants invading a picnic and stealing the good things from it. And the other one is about peacefully building gazebos to beat the snot out of your opponent and have more gazebos than them, I think.
Just like in real life.
Yeah. Here's how both of them play. In this game, players are going to play either on this 4-player board or there's a smaller board for 2 players. And you're going to put out some suites here based on the number of players. There's 5 different suites. Each player will get the same one. Players will have a bunch of ants of their color and 2 queens. Now, before I explain the rules of the game, I need to explain the stitch going down the middle here. This splits the board. So let me talk about putting out a queen. On your turn, you put a queen. That means I could put an ant here, 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 or here. But I cannot go to those 4 spaces beyond that. So when you get a queen, you can put them out in any spot. Or, if there already is somebody in a spot, you may replace them, but then they get to take the ant that you replaced and put it in any empty spot. So you're giving a possibility of doing something. What you're trying to do is a few things. If you connect 2 of the same suite together, these are connected, then you will take one and put it on top of the other one, and you'll score points for your ants. In this case, 3 points. Players are going to be keeping track of their points here. When you get to a certain number, that's going to trigger the end of the game. Also, if you completely surround a pile of suites, you can claim that with yours. That's pretty easy to claim these ones on the side. You'll score points for them. And if you claim one that somebody else has, you can steal it from them. Whenever suites are taken off the board, it will show 1 or 2 sugar cubes. And you'll place them in sugar cubes in that spot. When anyone places an ant next to a sugar cube, they will take them. That's important because you can use those sugar cubes to activate these powers here. So I might score a connection 1.5 times. So rather than if I connect with 6 ants, I would get 9 points instead of 6. Or go in the same row as an opponent, put your ant across the stitch, move your ant instead of placing a new one, or select the same row that you've already been in. Whichever one you pick, it will go to the bottom. It will go to the top, and be the most expensive, moving the other ones down. I should mention that everyone's going to take turns putting out their 2 queens. So once everyone has put out their queens and placed their ants on the side of the board, you're then going to do it on the other side of the stitch. However, in this case, you're going to start with the one closest to the star. So pink would go, then blue, then orange, then blue, then orange, then yellow, then pink, then yellow. And you're going to keep doing this so someone gets a certain amount of points, 32 or 40. That will trigger the end of the game. You'll get a point for all the suites in the piles that you control, so bigger piles is better. Not only that, whoever has the biggest pile of each of the 5 types will get a bonus 5 points. Most points wins. In this game, you're going to use one of several of the boards that comes with it, and you'll put this board face up. Each player is going to get 5 tiles in a pile. They don't know what the colors are that show 2 of the same color on these dominoes. But you're also going to have a handful of dominoes with different colors on. Look, I drew 3 of the same type. On your turn, you can place a domino next to one of the spots on the board that's colored like that. It doesn't have to match. I could put the pink here if I wanted to. Or next to a domino that's already in play. If you place 2 or more of the same color, you've made a nook. And you'll put your gazebo somewhere on that nook. In the future, you can continue to expand that nook if you so desire. And if you ever get it so that it's 5 or more, it becomes a big nook, and you can put another gazebo on it. Now, you'll never put more than 2 gazebos on a nook, so there's no reason really to make them much bigger than 5. As soon as any nook touches one of these patios here, the first person to do that will put one of their gazebos on that. Although if someone, for example, let's say Pink had this nook here, and then later on Pink had another nook nearby, so now they have 2 nooks touching this as opposed to well, that's still 2 from there, but let's say Pink got 3 in, they would then replace this with theirs. You can also absorb somebody's nook into your own. If, let's say, someone else had a nook that was size 2 and you'd want it was size 4 and you connected them, you would absorb it and they would have to take their gazebos back. Although once a nook is big, this one's 5 size, they cannot be absorbed any longer. These are fancy patios, and when you connect to them, you get to put 2 gazebos on them. The point of this game is to get rid of your gazebos. You'll play with a certain number of gazebos based on number of players, and the first person to get rid of all of them wins. Everyone has a pile of these single color tiles, and when you, at the end of your turn, you can draw one of these, or you can draw from the middle tile where you'll get the dual colored tiles. That being said, if you cover one of these here on the board, one of these spots, you will get to add another one of these to your pile because these are much more powerful. That's how you play. Before we talk about both of the games, I wanted to talk about the components for them. Bitewing has some pretty nice stuff. These both come with upgrade components you can get, which are amazing. Mm-hmm. That being said, if you do not get the upgraded components, then I don't like the mats at all.
They don't have enough weights to kind of keep down the little folds in the mat, right?
A box this size can hold a board. Why are we getting rid of the board? I don't understand this. I don't like those mats at all.
Maybe, Mike, you want to speak to it?
Well, yes. It's been a topic of discussion amongst this publisher's fans, and previous games that they've done that have had these kind of cloth boards, they are now in the process of saying, okay, well, we'll offer, actual boards if you want them. These were part of a kind of a Kickstarter campaign that was a travel line as well. So in addition to those standard boxes, you could get some travel boxes that you can carry this in. And I think that maybe the idea was that they fit better into those travel boxes. But I do agree with you. If you have just the standard components, it's definitely not a very satisfying tactile experience.
And I think that some games have done it better. Mike recently reviewed Eternal Decks, which has this, the type of fabric doesn't fold and crease quite like this one does. And I think that would have been better served with the cardboard components. With the upgrade and the nice stuff, you're not going to really have that issue, but it's a decent cost extra to get clickety-clack pieces that...
Yeah, it is, and I'm not saying you have to get those, though. But they look nice, the box looked nice, the artwork, the design on it is pretty solid. All right, so let's talk about them. We'll start with the older one first, and I say older because this is a remake gazebo of...
Say it.
Chin.
What's here? There you go, your chin, yes.
Chin with a Q. Anyhow, so Gazebo is a game. Now, I do want to mention one thing here. This is a very odd note, and maybe I'm the only person with this problem. I'm not, because I met someone else who was too. But in the rule book, it keeps saying single tiles and double tiles, and everyone on earth I've ever met who plays dominoes calls a tile with only 6s on it. They say that's a double 6. That's the reference term that. So it took me a while until I went back and looked at the list of components. I was like, why do they keep talking about single color tiles are better than double color? I get it. It was a mistake for me, but I don't think I'll be the only one to notice that. I don't normally call them that. I would say a single color, double color, not double tiles, single tiles.
Yes, and it matters with the setup and everything, what tiles everyone starts with. Outside of that, I think the rule set is good, and it's a pretty simple game. I think the only hang-up people have, and I have to remind people when I teach them, is that unlike domino games, you can mismatch. You can even mismatch both sides, and that also you can continually play from any part of the map. So someone starts building off of this little square, you can then build off of the other corners. Other than that, I think it's a really smooth and easy playing game.
Yeah, I agree. A hallmark of this designer's kind of games is relatively simple rule set and kind of emergent gameplay. We talked a little bit about Chin. To my understanding, because I played Chin years ago, to my understanding, the biggest difference is related to those single slash double color dominoes or tiles, depending upon which version you have. And it was, if I remember correctly, you didn't have them in separate piles. They were all part of a big general pile. And so I think there were some complaints. One of the complaints about that design was that the luck of the draw was too strong, because if you draw one of those single color tiles, it's just strictly better than one with two colors. And so they addressed that here, and I think it's a very big improvement, quite honestly, from the game the way it was originally. I think that's a pretty big deal, and I like the way that they've kind of incorporated that with these Zen spaces on the board as well. That can be very powerful, and it can kind of help guide your strategy a little bit.
Yeah, it's very much an in-your-face style game with a bit of a nod to Acquire. With the once a group gets too big, it can't be absorbed.
Yeah, but you want to absorb things, but the tile that connects the two, they have to be different sizes before. Yeah, I see those little connections.
I prefer it, I think, at 2, because it feels like a nice back and forth, while with 3 there can be that possibility of someone getting squished out.
Mm-hmm. And with 4, you definitely kind of have to team. Oh, that person's running ahead. Let's kind of pull them back a little bit, and then try to shift and pull back the person who then is pulling ahead. I think I agree. I like it at 2 the most, I would say, and it's more funny and chaotic with the more players you add in.
Yeah, I'm another one that likes it at 2. You mentioned probably my least favorite aspect of the game is that while the rules are relatively simple, the merging, I think, is the least intuitive part, because intuitively, in my mind at least, and maybe not everyone's mind works like this, if you're merging kind of 2 things together, right, and you're adding a piece that would take you above the one that you're kind of conquering, that makes sense. But you have to have more pieces than the other side before you add the connecting piece. To me, that's counterintuitive. I know it's a small thing, but it bothers me. So I did want to point that out.
It's though, so that's why it doesn't bother me, because it's the same rule there.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah. I didn't love it there either, to be honest with you.
I think it serves it well here, though, so that there's not constant takeovers. But yeah, overall, I think it's a really smooth and solid game. I like that. Yeah, areas can get large enough, you can double up, and the neutral places on the board that you can take over if you have the majorities there. It leads to a lot of really good, just good strategic play.
Yeah, and I also like that the goal is very simple. Get rid of your gazebos. That's it. Mm-hmm. And that's just an easy thing to teach. For me, this is a solid 7.5. It's easy to play. It's quick. I like it best 2 players. I don't care that there's not a theme. It's a nice abstract that's in your face, but also feels like a tug of war, so it doesn't ever feel too mean.
Yeah, this is a really good game. I am coming just a bit higher at an 8. I think it's solid. I really do prefer it at 2, and I like that once you teach a few basic things, you just kind of keep coming back to it. I like playing this one back-to-back a few times, especially. And I think that's kind of where it's most satisfying. So yeah, it's an 8 for me.
Chin was a 7 for me. This is an 8 because I think that the tile distribution is a huge element, and the production is nicer as well. And so that's enough to get it to an 8 for me. Yeah, just another rock-solid design by Knizia, who does abstracts quite well.
All right, Gingham here. This is a game that is about picnics and ants, and then completely just gives up on that theme almost immediately. You are going out and collecting stuff, but then you also form a ring of ants around it to protect it. But another ant can be like, "Excuse me, can you move?" And you're like, "Yeah, okay." And then you get out of the way. And the biggest thing is, I don't know. The ant has got to the stitching up blanket and was like, Well, that's about the farthest we can go. But that's fine. I mean, I feel like the theme might have been added afterwards. Where I do run into an issue, though, is that Stitch to me, I don't know how to explain it because I can't say I don't like it, but I don't have a strong reason for it other than it just feels out of place. I get what it is. The longest the row is, the more places you have to put it in, but that also means you'll go last when you flip to the other side. But I don't know. I'm playing on half a board, then I go play on the other half of the board. Then I play on the other half, then I go play on the other half. I don't find that part to be very interesting.
I really like it because it is the source of that tension, the exact mechanism that you're describing. You can go first, but you have one place to place onto. I wonder where you're going to go, but you might choose to go first because this does the king domino or floriferous type turn order thing where going earlier, having fewer options means that you get to set the priority for next turn quicker. You also, if you go first, get to choose which of the three sides you'll place onto next. So there's a lot riding on going earlier. And so there's a little push your luck of like, I don't want to go in the very front space. I'll go on one like the second or third maybe and hope no one cuts me off ahead. So I don't have a thematic explanation for the stitch in the middle of the cloth, but I tremendously like that.
I'm making fun of it. I don't really care.
Sure.
But about the theming.
But no, you don't like it mechanically. I do.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to go thematically, you just, instead of saying it's a stitch, say it's a line of salt that is across the blanket. Because I think, they say that ants?
Mike, I don't think it's ants.
I'm going to say it's ants. So, yeah, that's my favorite element of the game is the turn order. And so the stitch, I guess, does play into that. It doesn't bother me. The only element of the stitch that bothers me, I guess I'm being really weird about small exceptions to rules today, because this bothers me about this game, is that when you have a special power that lets you move an ant instead of placing an ant, you can't move one that's beyond the stitch. Why? Because it has to be that way, maybe? I don't know. That bothers me again, because it's a game, I guess this is another part, is that it's a game that is relatively simple to explain, except that I feel like there are certain elements that just don't seem to have, again, an intuitive nature to them. Like, I think it's a game that takes several plays to try to kind of figure out, okay, so why are we moving when we're connecting? Why is the moving a thing? Okay, so because you can create these things, and it's easier here to surround it and harder there. Yes, it's clever, right? It's a clever idea, but does it, I'm really having a hard time articulating it. Does it really serve the game enough for all of these little things that are going on? Because it feels like it should be a simpler game to me than it is. Maybe that's the way I should put it. It feels like it should be simpler than it is, because this is a game that, again, even more so than in Gazebo, I prefer 2 players. I don't like playing it at 4. It gets into kind of devolving of so many people kind of like bumping and moving and this and that, and it just kind of it gets to the point where it's like, oh, somebody didn't notice this big move because there's so many other things going on the board, and it allowed them to hit that point trigger and end the game. I feel like it slogs at anything really beyond 2. 3 is not as bad, but this to me is a solid 2-player game. 3 and 4, it feels a little bit bloated for what it is, right? It's not a difficult game. It's not a complicated game, but it feels like it's more than it should be.
I like it at all the player counts, but I will say I agree with I agree with your point that it feels like it should be a simpler game than it is. It feels like the scoring should be simpler to explain than it is, because what you're doing every turn is so simple. And to be perfectly clear, it's okay that it is not what I was kind of expecting it to be. But I do have that issue where every time I teach it, I kind of have to go over the scoring again. I have to reread it to make sure I'm going to teach the right parts. When does it move? When do you put the cap piece on? How many points does it count? If you take over a control that someone already put their cap piece on, you count it, and then you put yours on, but you do or don't include your own plus theirs plus the stack. You know, there's just like a little bit of those nuances. I think that you said, Mike, is a good word, is it's a little less intuitive than it should be. because for some reason it feels like it's going to be a much lighter, more approachable game than it is. But I'm okay with what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know. I get that. I think what Mike said resonates with me. The game is very clever, but I don't know that it makes it fun for me. I'm even stronger. If you want to play this with 4, it's abysmal. I think it's the worst. Like, it's just so chaotic. I don't feel like I can do any strategy. I'm just waiting for my turn and, okay, well, you did that, and you did that, and you did that. I can replace one ant, I guess. And the sugar cube thing is even worse because it's a cool idea, but I'm going to do that special ability. Oh, you did, and now it costs 3. Well, never mind then. And that feels random. Now, again, I suspect, and I'm not going to judge the whole game based on that because I want to go down to 2 players, and I feel like it should be a 2-player game, but I don't even like it at 2. So I don't hate it as much, but I'm giving it a 5. I don't like the hidden scoring. I don't know what the point of that is at all. Why are we hiding the scoring?
Because that is the end game trigger.
Sure. So do I have to have a memory element now thrown in?
I just choose not to remember, and I go, I got to score points.
Okay, fine. But again, you would have to. Anyway, I don't like that. I don't like the stitch. I don't like the weird connection rules that you have to follow because you have to connect the closest one, and sometimes that can be changed or configured, and it's area control, but it's shifting. Maybe it's a good game, but it's definitely not for me. 5 out of 10.
Mike, I'm curious. I think you might be next highest score.
Probably. I feel like I'm kind of, you both are making points that are compelling to me and that I resonate with. One that you said, Tom, it feels a little more clever than fun for me. I resonate with that. And the thing I resonate with Chris is the fact that that doesn't mean that that's not what this game could or should be. I just think not quite as much as you, Tom, but this is just kind of not what I'm looking for in this type of an abstract game. It's a little bit more than I want. It's a little bit more convoluted than I feel like it should be based on the experience that I'm having, and especially at higher player counts. So I'm a little bit higher. I'm a 6. I don't think it's a bad game mechanically. I think it's very clever, and I think it's going to appeal to certain abstract gamers very highly. But I'm not quite that type of an abstract gamer, so a 6 for me.
And I'm a bit higher. I'm definitely higher. I'm at 7.5. I like this game, and I want to continue to come back to it and play it, especially with the same group, because I don't necessarily like teaching and clarifying all the scoring rules, as they're a bit unintuitive. And as Mike alluded to, there's definitely a skill gap. You know, brand new players or people who have played it once versus players who have played it multiple times, they're going to have a harder time seeing where to stop important moves. I think that skill gap is really pronounced in this game. That being said, I still have fun with it, and it gives me the feels, a similar feeling to one of my favorite games, Hansa Teutonica, with that bumping out other players' pieces, which feels great, but then they get to place it anywhere, even beyond the stitch, which is a small rule, niggle kind of a thing, right? Where you're like, oh, okay, hold on, when can you, when can't you, stuff like that. But it does, all of those rules do make the game strong for me. I think of it less as an abstract and more of a Euro game in the vein of Hansa Teutonica, but I like it. Definitely it's a little notch down because of those issues that I have. So 7.5.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Gingham and Gazebo. 2 Bitewing Games. Check them out. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
And we want to say thanks to some of our GameFound backers. Thank you to Graham, Julie, Haley, and Isaiah from Mississauga, Canada. To Rick Ridiculous, Stribel, and Scott Mocker. Thank you all for supporting the show. And thank you all for watching. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.